Good morning, dear hearts. We're on lesson 35. Please subscribe. Today's lesson is My Mind is Part of God's I Am Very Holy. We're going to bring into our spiritual tapestry, into that weave, going backwards and then coming forwards again, 3 lessons. Lesson 4, Lesson 15, and Lesson 30. Now, this title of the lesson today, My Mind is Part of God's I Am Very Holy. So we have that I am statement right there. And the first paragraph addresses that I am, as well as the idea that our mind is indeed part of God's. Today's idea does not describe the way you see yourself now. And I like to emphasize the now, because remember, this is a progression of undoing of our thought system. So right now, this isn't how I see myself, and this is not how I think of my mind as being part of God's. Although, very quickly, lesson 30 was God is in everything I see, because God is in my mind. So if God is in my mind must be part of His as well. So today's idea does not describe the way you see yourself now. It does, however, describe what vision will show you. Vision. This is that idea of seeing truly, and not with the body eyes, but with the eyes of Christ-mindedness, Christ consciousness. It's difficult. It's difficult for anyone who thinks he is in this world to believe this of himself, and many spiritual paths besides this one will tell us that we are in this world, but we are not of this world. But if I believe I am in this world, I will have my whole life be so it will uphold that belief. Yet the reason he thinks he is in this world is because he does not believe it. I don't believe that my mind could be part of God's and I could be very holy. You will believe that you are part of where you think you are. That is because you surround yourself with the environment you want, and you want to protect the image of yourself that you have made. But now we'll simply go to lesson 15, that my thoughts are images that I have made. And the very first lines in that lesson are, it is because of the thoughts you think you think. And that is a phrase that will be coming back and will be used again throughout this workbook. The thoughts that I think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, so you think you see them. And that is why I do not think that I am part of God, and I do not think that my mind is very holy, because I am seeing things that would attest to me that that could not possibly be true. And just to finish up for lesson 4 was that these thoughts do not mean anything. Of course, it came back that my thoughts do not mean anything. And that we were told that this was going to be a major lesson, and it would come back to us in many ways. And in this lesson, in 4, so 4th day of the year, 4th day of practice, because you may not have started on the 1st of January, but it says that this is in selecting the subjects for today's application, okay? And our thoughts, the ones we think are the good ones or the bad ones, none of them represent your real thoughts, which are being covered up by the thoughts that we are thinking. The good ones, the good thoughts, are just shadows of what lies beyond, and they make sight difficult. And then the bad ones are blocks to sight, to vision, and that make vision, seeing, impossible. And we don't want either one of those. So coming back to today's lesson, that my mind is part of God's, I am very holy. And then for the practicing, it is, again, the 3 times 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes each. And we will again have our procession, our parade. But let's go back just before we start the practicing, the explanation of the practicing. Paragraph 3 because it has some very important information. And it says the idea for today presents a very different view of yourself by establishing the source, which is capitalized. It establishes your identity, which is capitalized. And it describes you as you must really be in truth. And truth is not capitalized, but I would capitalize truth because in truth, and truth is something that does not change. Truth is true. Nothing else is true. In truth, this is who we are. This is how we must come to believe and think of ourselves. And it tells us we'll use a different bit of an application. It is still going to be the 3 times, the 5 minutes each. At least, we need at least 5 minutes for this. And we're going to again have sort of that procession, but it is going to be with only thoughts and not images. Okay, begin by repeating today's idea, then close your eyes, search your mind for various kinds of descriptive terms in which you see yourself. Now, we will probably start by seeing things that are very ego-based and very negative. So we may, and of course there's a list, because of course there's a list, that I see myself as imposed on, I see myself as depressed, I see myself as failing, maybe I see myself as anxious or endangered. Maybe I see myself as helpless. But then I can switch and try to use better terminology and better adjectives, that I see myself as victorious, I see myself as kind, I see myself as charitable or generous. The reason that it doesn't matter whether I'm using negative thoughts and adjectives or positive sounding ones is because these are still not my real thoughts. My real thoughts are still covered up. My real thoughts have not come to the surface. I am thinking with a limited mind. And every year that I do these lessons, there seems to be one theme perhaps that I keep coming back to. And it seems like this year will be the limited mind and the unlimited mind because it's been coming up for me. So whether I have these positive or these negative ideas that are coming to me to describe who I think I am, I'm thinking them with the limited mind because as lesson 4 said, that even the good ones are just a shadow. So even if I see myself as good or kind or charitable, it is only a shadow of who I really am. The unlimited mind would not have any of these negative ideas. The unlimited mind is the mind that is part of God's. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. And that part of my mind is filled with light and filled with love and peace and joy and kindness. And that part of my mind would never go into, and will not go, and even cannot go into the negative descriptions because it knows none of that is real. So we can say my limited mind is unreal and my unlimited mind is where the real thoughts and the truth abide. That is where I will go when I believe that my mind is truly part of God's and I truly am very holy. Someone said about yesterday's lesson I seemed rushed, and sometimes I am because there's so many things going on and I want to get them out and say them, and I know not everyone listens till the end of the lesson, so get it in fast is sometimes what my thoughts are telling me. But I hope you listen to this point. I hope you realize that your mind indeed is part of God's and you are very holy. So smile for that, and like the video please, and share it and subscribe and comment. And again, smile because of how much is being peeled away from our limited mind. And pray that this realization comes to all of us as soon as possible. Namaste.